Hey everybody, welcome to Cut, Transform, Glue. So I found this old VHS camera the other day, this old piece of technology. And I know these kinds of things, they have lots of pieces inside, so the moment I saw it, I knew I had to take it, I had to save it, and I decided to take it apart in video and show you guys all of the pieces inside of it. And I'll try my best to keep all of the pieces intact and break it down as much as I can. By just looking from the outside, we can already see lots of tiny interesting buttons on the side of the camera and also some interesting knobs. And since this camera uses the VHS tapes, we can tell that there are tons of pieces on the inside of it to rewind and play the VHS tapes. Not to mention the optical elements, we have lenses and viewfinders, so yeah, this will be super interesting. I'll try to save these lenses as best as I can for future projects. And to take it apart, I'll use my collection of crappy tiny screwdrivers that I have and that I almost never use. Just by looking from the outside of it, I can already tell there are tons of screws on this one. So yeah, enough talking and let's begin taking this apart. And when I tried the first screw, I knew that I was going to have some trouble and that this was not going to be super easy. It is impressive how tightly those tiny screws can be bolted down, so yeah. Or maybe it is a thing of using the right tools for the job. I guess my screwdrivers are not good enough for this. But I kept going and eventually I found some screws that were super easy to remove, like these ones right here in the bottom of the camera. They came out nice and easy. With all of the outside screws removed, I can already start removing some big plastic pieces, like this front shield right here. This piece looks super interesting. I can already think about some robots with it, and I decided to actually take this only this segment apart right here. So this is what I did right here. I focused on this big piece. I'll take this apart before moving on to the whole body of the camera. And guys, take a look at this. Look at how many pieces we have just in the front portion, in the front shoot of the camera. So yeah, we're in for a ride right here. I mean, that if watching someone taking apart an old VHS camera is your type of thing. But yeah, you guys got the idea. Lots of tiny pieces just from the front portion of the camera. So yeah, I can't wait to see how many pieces are on the inside of it. At this point I realized that I could remove all of the sides of the camera. There were no more screws on the outside, as I said before, so yeah, I decided to take all of the plastic pieces from the outside first and remain with just the core of the camera in my hands. So as you guys can see right here, this is the core of the camera where the whole system is. There are tons of interesting pieces right here. But before I work on that, I'll take apart these pieces right here from this side plastic shield of the camera. I'll take these apart as carefully as I can. As you guys can see, there are tons of small PCBs in this one. Also right here, this is like the viewfinder of the camera, so it has some interesting pieces on it. As you guys can see, it looks like a Canon, a laser cannon, maybe for a future combat robot. But I actually decided to take this one apart. So this right here, I believe this is the LED light that this camera has. In this structure right here, there are tons of reflective, interesting greeblies. Those can be used on a radar system or something like that, like some optical elements for a recon unit, maybe, I don't know. There's also this one right here, super interesting, super reflective, something that I could never make with my own hands or maybe even with a printer. This is super good looking. Look at this. And I still have the viewfinder. As you guys can see, it separates into two pieces, and this one right here, it holds the lens. I'll actually take the lens out and keep it in my collection of lenses that I have. And on the other piece, there's this tiny LCD right here, super good looking and reflective. Can't wait to use it on a robot. Now we can finally work on the core of the camera, and as you guys just saw, the first thing that I did was to take apart the lens assembly. There are tons of pieces and tiny electric motors on this one. As you guys can see, I took apart this piece right here, which I believe is the light sensor. I believe this is the part of the camera which grabs the image. It has also some good looking pieces for some radars and sensors for a robot, so I'm saving this for sure. And then I carefully took apart the lens assembly. Later I decided to put it back together. You guys will see that in a minute, but as you guys can see right here, the lens is kind of rocked back and forth to adjust the zoom and the focus. I believe it has this interesting piece right here which I believe controls the aperture of the camera. It is super good looking, and I'm keeping this as it is also. Just on the lens assembly, there are 3 electric motors, just like the ones I've used on the Sniper spaceship. I'm saving those. And as I said, I put the lens assembly back together. I want to keep it like intact as it is. I feel like this is super interesting for a project in the future, so I don't want to break it down into many pieces. I'll save this just as it is right now. Now let's speed up this process because I know this can be boring. So yeah, this is just a time lapse of me taking apart the core of the camera. Tons of metal pieces in this one, tons of tiny screws to be taken out, and tons of PCBs, as you guys can see. And after a couple of hours of work, these are all of the pieces I was able to save from the camera. Now let me just make a rundown right here of the pieces that I like the most. Like this one right here, it looks like a latch that I could put in the top of a robot. Super good looking, super interesting. There's this one right here that I could put like in the head of a robot, maybe a future version of the repair robot, who knows. Now take a look at this one right here. Look at how many tiny details this piece has. Super interesting for some surface details. Yeah, I really like it. And there's also the big boys, like this one right here, the front portion of the camera. To me it looks like the whole top of a smaller robot. I could put something right here that swivels, like a radar or maybe a gun even. And there's also the metal pieces in the camera, like this one right here. Super good looking. I'm not even sure how I'm gonna use it, but yeah, look at this, super reflective and metal. Yeah, I like it. These types of pieces that are so good looking that I don't even have to paint it. I can use them as they are. I just have to make some cleaning on the inside and I'm good to go. And of course there are tons and tons of tiny lenses and reflective pieces. These ones right here, I can also leave them as they are and use the shininess of it in some radar systems, some sensors in our big robot. So yeah, these are awesome. As you guys can see, there's hundreds of pieces in this camera and I'm really glad to decide to take it and keep it. Now let me know in the comments what you guys think about this content, and maybe I'll make more of that in the future. But don't go away yet because I still have to show you guys something. think I told you guys a couple of weeks back that I'm showing my models, all of them, in a maker fair next month and the beginning of November. And so to be able to take the models there safely, I've made these wood boxes right there. Now let me just show you guys quickly how I made them. Now, I think it goes without saying that I'm not a woodworker, so most of the things you guys will see me making right here is probably wrong, so don't take it as a tutorial or anything like that. I'm just showing you guys my process and my thoughts when making the boxes. Also, this part of the video is kind of out of order. If you look closely at the combat robot, the base is not even painted because I began making these boxes a couple of weeks back. But yeah, to make the boxes I'm using these 15mm plywood, and to cut it I'm using this mini circular hand saw that I bought some time ago. And I went with it because I don't have enough space here in my shop to have a proper woodworking cutting tool, I guess. But I think this is good enough for my skill set, and to cut the wood I've used the same plywood as a guide because I don't have a track for this cutting tool right here, but it worked perfectly that way. After a bit of wrestling with those huge plywood sheets, I had the four sides of the first box cut, and now I just have to take care of the assembly of that. And I think I did a good job when cutting the wood. I think I have some decent parallel lines, and all of the sides they have the same height, so I'm happy with it. Now to put this together, I've made these two right here. I decided to try to make my own version of a pocket jig to drill some holes and then put everything together with some glue and some screws. To create the pocket jig that you guys are seeing in the video, I did a bit of research to understand how it works. I think I did a decent job. It's not perfect at all, but it kind of works. But as this is a 3D printed part, it has some limitations. If you work with it for a long while without stopping, it can kind of get hot and try to melt, so you gotta be careful with it. Now, I know there are some real woodworkers out there probably watching this, watching me butcher their techniques. So here's a shot of me putting way too much wood glue onto a joint. And here's a shot of me trying to put it together with the screw and kind of messing up the screw head. But the second one went a little better, so I think it's just a matter of finding the perfect angle with the pocket jig. But I think you guys suffered enough through this, so let's jump ahead a bit. So as I said, I'm not a woodworker and I probably made many mistakes in these boxes, but I'm super happy with it. I gotta be honest, I feel like the sculptures, the robots, they'll get there safely, and that's what's important about all of this. As you guys can see, I've made the boxes just a little bigger than the robot so that I can put some foam on the sides and also some bubble wrap to keep everything nice, tight and secure. And of course, this is just the first one. This is the one that will carry the repair robot, and I had to make 4 boxes for all of the robots. So there are 2 boxes for the smaller projects, the repair robot and the recon robot. And these other 2 right here, these big boxes, are for the combat robot and for the sniper spaceship. But yeah, this is it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the boxes, especially if you're a woodworker. Shout out to my Patreon and Coffee supporters, and as always, thanks for watching.